It was Valentine's Day. My girlfriend Lisa and I were driving through the quiet back roads of our small Illinois town. We had heard the legend, of course. Everyone had. The Phantom Valentine, the ghost of a woman who appears every February 14th, standing on the side of the road in a blood-stained dress. Some say she was murdered here in the 50s, along with her boyfriend, their bodies found in their car, hands still clasped together in death. Others claim they've seen them in their rearview mirrors, two figures dressed in vintage clothing, watching, waiting. It was just a story, right? That's what we thought. Lisa had the radio on, flipping through the stations when suddenly, static. A deep, grating hiss filled the car. Then, through the distortion, we heard it, an old love song, a crackling, distant voice singing, "Only you can make this world seem right." Then, silence. Lisa turned to me, her eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. The car felt colder. The windows fogged up unnaturally fast. And then, Lisa gasped, "Stop the car." I did, and that's when I saw her. Standing just ahead, bathed in pale moonlight, was a woman. Her dress, once white, was now stained dark with something thick, something red. Her long black hair hung over her face, swaying in the wind. Lisa whispered, "That's her," but I couldn't move. Then, her head snapped up. Her face, oh God, her face. Hollowed out eyes, empty sockets dripping with blackness. Her lips twisted into a smile that didn't belong on a human face. Then she started walking toward us, one slow step, then another. The closer she got, the colder it became. My breath came out in white puffs. My hands were shaking, and then she vanished. Lisa screamed, "Drive! Drive!" I slammed my foot on the gas. The tires screeched as we sped down the road, but no matter how fast we went, the air inside the car felt thick, suffocating. Then in the rearview mirror, I saw them, a couple, sitting in my back seat. Their faces were pale, their throats slit wide open, their hands, still locked together in death, resting between them. Then, one of them turned their head toward me. Lisa saw it too. She shrieked, covering her eyes, sobbing. I wasn't thinking. I just kept driving, tearing down that road at a speed I'd never dared before. But no matter how far we went, that song started playing again, soft at first, then louder. That same old love song, playing through the static. Only you can make the darkness bright. The voices in the back seat began to whisper, low, indistinct, but growing, growing, growing. I saw the town lights ahead, salvation. If I could just make it back, if I could just... The car jerked violently to a stop, like something had grabbed it, held it. Lisa was screaming, I was screaming. The couple in the mirror, gone, and then I heard a whisper, right in my ear. Don't leave me alone. The radio blasted static. The window shattered inward, and I saw her. The woman, standing just outside my driver's side window, staring. Her mouth stretched open, impossibly wide, a soundless scream echoing through my bones. And then, everything went black. I woke up in my car parked in front of my house. The windshield intact, the radio off. Lisa sat beside me trembling, her face pale as a corpse. Neither of us said a word. We just got out, walked inside, locked every door. We never spoke about that night again. But every year, on Valentine's Day, the radio in my car turns on by itself, and through the static I hear it. Only you can make this world seem right. Don't leave me alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content. The Rosewood Inn, where love meets the supernatural. But curiosity, mixed with a bit of foolish bravery, led me and my girlfriend Claire to spend Valentine's Day in one of the most haunted places in upstate New York. The moment we stepped inside, something felt off. The air was thick, heavy, almost suffocating. The grand chandelier flickered above us as if warning us to turn back. The receptionist, an older woman with tired eyes, barely made eye contact as she handed us our key. "Room 13, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "If you hear anything strange, don't open the door." Claire chuckled nervously. That's reassuring. But I noticed the woman wasn't joking. Her hands trembled slightly as she turned away. The hallways were eerily silent, except for the creak of the wooden floors beneath our feet. The wallpaper was peeling, the scent of dust and something faintly floral, roses maybe, hung in the air. We found our room at the very end of the corridor, right next to a large window that overlooked the snow-covered garden. That night, everything started around midnight. I woke up to the sound of faint crying. It was soft at first, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. I turned to Claire, but she was fast asleep. The crying grew louder. It wasn't coming from the hallway. It was inside our room. I reached for my phone, the screen's glow barely illuminating the darkness. That's when I saw it. The closet door, which we had left shut, was now slightly open. A chill ran down my spine. Every instinct screamed at me to stay in bed, to ignore it, but something compelled me to look closer. I grabbed my phone's flashlight and aimed it at the opening. There was nothing inside. No clothes, no hangers, just a swinging light. And then, the door slammed shut. Claire jolted awake. What was that? I couldn't answer. My throat felt dry. My pulse hammered in my ears. The crying had stopped, but the air in the room had turned ice cold. I could see my own breath fogging up in front of me, and then we smelled it, roses, but the scent was overpowering, sickly sweet, as if the very walls were exhaling it. Claire grabbed my arm, her fingers ice cold. "We need to leave." I nodded. We grabbed our things in a hurry, fumbling with the door, but as soon as I twisted the knob, the lights in the room flickered wildly, and then we heard it. A voice, whispering, "Stay with me." The window at the end of the hallway burst open with a deafening crash. A freezing gust of wind howled through, sending papers flying, slamming doors up and down the hall. And in the chaos, we saw her, standing by the window, a woman in a red dress. Her back was turned to us, her long dark hair cascading down. But even from behind, I could feel her sorrow, the weight of her tragedy pressing against my chest. Then slowly, she turned her head. Her face wasn't human. Hollow eyes, black as night, her mouth twisted into an expression of agony. Claire screamed. The woman's form flickered. Then in an instant, she lunged toward us. The lights exploded into darkness. We don't remember much after that. When we came to, we were outside, shivering in the freezing air. The receptionist stood over us, her face pale. "You saw her, didn't you?" she murmured. We didn't answer. We just left. We never spoke of that night again. But every Valentine's Day, without fail, I wake up at midnight to the sound of faint crying and the scent of roses filling my room. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content. Back in 2003, it was a simpler time, a time when life felt a bit slower and more personal. I was living in Texas with my girlfriend Emily. We were young and in love, and every moment felt like an adventure. She was everything to me, and I wanted to get her something truly special for Valentine's Day. I wanted a gift that would show her just how much she meant to me. That's how I ended up in a dusty little antique store on the edge of town, a place I had never noticed before. The kind of place that smelled like old wood and forgotten memories, filled with relics from the past, each item telling its own story. That's when I saw it, a delicate heart-shaped locket, gleaming under the dim light. It was as if it was calling out to me, whispering secrets of a bygone era. The intricate design and the way it shimmered made it stand out among all the other items in the store. It looked perfect, like something out of a romantic novel, the kind of locket that held stories of love, loss, and timeless memories. I could almost imagine the hands that once held it, the neck it once adorned. I asked the store owner about it, and that's when he gave me a strange look. His eyes seemed to pierce through me, as if he knew something I didn't. There was a moment of silence before he spoke, almost as if he was deciding whether to share the tale or not.
That locket belonged to a woman who died of a broken heart in the 1800s. Her name was Eliza, and she was known for her beauty and grace. But her life was filled with sorrow after she lost her one true love. She lost her love, and some say she never let go. They say her spirit is still bound to the locket, forever searching for her lost love. The locket is said to carry her lingering sadness and unfulfilled desires.
I laughed it off. The idea of a haunted locket seemed absurd to me. After all, ghost stories are just that. Stories. Ghost stories don't scare me. I've always been a skeptic, never one to believe in the supernatural. To me, the locket was just a beautiful piece of jewelry with an interesting backstory. So I bought the locket thinking Emily would love it. She adored vintage items, and I knew this would be the perfect gift for her. I imagined her eyes lighting up with joy when she saw it. I had no idea that I was about to invite something in. Little did I know the locket carried more than just a story. It carried a presence, one that would soon make itself known. At first, Emily was thrilled. She wore it every day, smiling whenever she touched it. But then the nightmare started. Every night she dreamed of a pale woman standing in the darkness, whispering in a voice like dead leaves.
You took my love.
At first we brushed it off. Nightmares happen, right? Everyone has them. We thought it was just stress or maybe something we ate. We never imagined it could be something more sinister. But then things started moving on their own. Chairs would slide across the floor and objects would shift positions when no one was looking. It was as if an unseen force was at play, toying with us. One night, we heard the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps in the hallway. We lived alone. The footsteps echoed through the house, growing louder and more menacing with each passing second. It felt like someone, or something, was watching us. Emily refused to take off the locket. She loved it with all her heart. From the moment she put it on, she was inseparable from it. She said she felt drawn to it. It was as if the locket had a life of its own, whispering secrets only she could hear. She would often sit for hours, just staring at it, lost in its mysterious allure, as if something wanted her to keep it on. The air around her would grow cold whenever she wore it, and a strange, almost palpable presence seemed to envelop her. But then, things got worse. The eerie events escalated. Lights would flicker, doors would slam shut on their own, and an overwhelming sense of dread filled the house. She woke up screaming, clutching her throat. Her eyes were wide with terror, and she gasped for breath as if something was choking her. Scratches ran down her neck in jagged lines as if invisible fingers had clawed her in the night. The marks were fresh and deep, and they seemed to burn with an unnatural intensity. That was it. I grabbed the locket and yanked it off her. The moment it left her skin, she gasped in relief, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her chest. The moment I did, the room went ice cold. The windows rattled. A chilling breeze swept through the room, and it felt like the very essence of the house had changed. A deep, guttural moan filled the air. It was a sound that seemed to come from the depths of the earth, filled with pain and anger. After that, the nightmares stopped. The footsteps, the cold drafts, everything just disappeared. Emily never spoke about it again. But me? I still wonder who was the woman in her dreams, and what would have happened if we hadn't returned the locket. The store owner says the locket still sits in his shop waiting for its next owner, and every time someone buys it, it always finds its way back. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content.